That is neat. I really need
It's
to
really nice.
get into playing those a bit, first.
Yeah,
Josh,
because,
you would love it. It's
yeah.
It's like better Assassin's Creed, if I'm being honest. I really had that. I actually just had that revelation a couple of days ago. I was like, this really reminds me kind of Assassin's Creed, except, I don't hate it. I mean,
there you have it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Citizens of Gaming podcast. I'm Tim.
Hey, this is Josh.
And I'm Brenden.
So, today's episode, we're going to talk about first impressions. There's been a bunch of games that have come out recently. Three bigger titles that have kind of been games that we've been looking forward to. Obviously, that we've talked about them in the past. Games that were highly anticipated. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but of course we're going to start off with some news. And no, this is not a news episode. We're actually going to give you guys a little bit, and we'll give you some other content.
Yay! But anyway, just a bit of news. The countdowns we talked about in the other episode that Capcom had, one of them ended up being the Resident Evil Museum that we talked about, and then the other one ended at the Street Fighter Pro Tour, which was the announcement of Street Fighter 6. And also a Capcom fighting game collection. It's going to have like 10 different old school fighters in it, which they've done in the past. They did it with their like arcade beat 'em up collection. They put like 7 of those like games that are like incredibly hard to find and play otherwise. So that's cool. But the big news with Street Fighter 6, it was like I think it's only like 15 seconds of a teaser, and it's just Ryu and like the latest DLC fighter from Street Fighter 5. I think his name's Luke. No date, no gameplay, no what consoles or systems it's going to be released on, but
just more or less confirmed.
Yeah, just confirming that it exists and will be coming sometime. I mean, it has been a long time coming. I mean, Street Fighter 5 released in like 2015 or 2016, something like that. And they've been supporting it all these years. Like, that was the goal, is to release one Street Fighter and then support it throughout the console generation. And now that we're in a new generation, we're going to possibly do the same thing again. I guess, again, they haven't confirmed that, but
I guess there's been confirmation.
Relative
yeah. There's been confirmation of a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I haven't really done much research on it, but I imagine it's going to be just like every other dual release. More Pokemon, which is, as we've said in the past, never a bad thing.
No, they've been because I recently played Pokemon Sword, which is obviously 2020's golden Pokemon game, and
2019 maybe, something like that.
Something like that. And I mean, I had never played a Pokemon game since probably Game Boy Color, maybe Game Boy Advanced era. So it's interesting seeing how they've been twisting and turning, like bringing kind of them into a more modern playstyle. So that's pretty exciting.
They already confirmed the starters. One of them's like a grass cat. It was like a fire alligator, and the other one's like a water duck. And it's supposed to be like a Spanish type region. Or like Spain, like
Spain.
Like Sword and Shield was more like a British English.
More like Italy type thing.
No, Sword and Shield was Great Britain. Was the whole point? Was the area they were?
I was referring to this one, like an Italy.
Oh no,
type.
No, it's supposed to be like Spain, from what people understand.
So this is a little off topic, but it kind of relates. So I always thought the Pokemon was based off of different regions in Japan. That's not necessarily the case. This is more worldwide.
No, it was expanded. At first, I think at first it was more Japan region. Now they've been expanding.
Yeah, they've just. I mean, it's again to give different flavors and allow them to design differently. Like Sun and Moon was mostly about like Hawaii and the Pacific Islands. Like there's a lot of heavy influence in Sun and Moon from that type of area. So it's just a way to like and it's also a different way for them to get new forms, because they've been making like new forms of Pokemon based on region. So there's new regional types.
Okay.
Um, so it's more about that, and I mean, obviously, it's gonna have some new Pokemon. There is some slight concern. People are a little worried that this is like, quote unquote, too much Pokemon since Legends Arceus just came out in January, and yeah, Sword and Shield isn't even that old. That's like I said, only like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But it says Pokemon on the box. Every Pokemon fanboy is gonna go buy it. Like I literally know a group of people who do nothing but bitch about Pokemon, and then they just go buy the next one anyway because it says Pokemon on the box because it's what they play. Like they're gonna go buy it anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be well received, just like every other one is.
Probably. Yeah, and there's just a bit of concern about whether or not it's gonna make enough changes. Like again, Arceus was well received, so people are worried this might be reverting too much back to type, but
Yeah.
again, it is what it is. We still really haven't seen anything about it yet, so
Well, only
Yeah.
time will tell, I guess.
That's,
yeah.
gotta wait and see what happens, I guess. And then let's see here. Oh, big news, I think, is Call of Duty apparently has pushed back their 2023 release of what would be, their yearly release by release. And they're going to focus on this 2022's release being a more supported game in general. For the
Yeah.
first time since 2005, they're not going to release a Call of Duty yearly.
Supposedly.
Supposedly is
we'll
the
see.
key word. Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
which is good because what this 2022's this year's Call of Duty is a sequel to
Warfare sequel.
2019
Yeah.
Modern Warfare.
That is
So everybody's pretty excited about that, from what I've seen.
definitely something the franchise needs and has needed for a long time. I'm glad that hopefully this is in light of all the acquisitions that they're being forced to take a step back and stop pushing yearly updates and actually focus on one and make it the best product it can be.
I'm sure there is some truth to that, but reportedly Vanguard has not done as well as they had hoped. I mean, again, it's Call of Duty. I'm sure it did fine. Like they didn't release sales numbers for like this for Vanguard this last year's Call of Duty. Like when they don't release the numbers, and that means that it didn't perform as well as they wanted it to. So recently, I think it was the end of February, early March, the GTA Definitive Edition trilogy got its first patch in about 3 months since it launched to keep fixing its issues. It's crazy that it took them this long, but it was a big patch. Like you can go check out the patch notes. I can't list everything here because it's a long list of stuff because that game was so busted. But it is nice to see they didn't completely drop the ball and they haven't completely forgotten about the people who wanted it and are trying to play it.
It's nice that, I mean, it sucks that it's taken so long, and maybe they were really working on. I can't speak for them, but I'm really hoping that they were really putting time and effort into this patch to fix all the issues or a good majority of the issues with the game and on the different platforms.
Yeah. I mean, I remember before it was coming out, it had some massive hype, but I feel like it fell off so hard when it crashed and burned like that. So, it is cool and nice to see that they are going to see it through and get it working correctly, which I guess would make sense just because, since they're trying to retire the old versions of the games and make that the main line.
Yeah, I mean, I think it fell off again because people heard that it didn't work and it was such a disastrous launch. Yeah, I mean, this is a game that's, or at least in theory, this is a game that's going to sell for a long, long time. Like it's classic GTA, so it's got legs. So I think if they can fix it to the point where it'll just keep getting picked up by people for years and years to come, then it'll be worth it.
DICE Awards just came and went recently.
That it
And
did.
I mean, one of the main ones I saw, which was pretty happy news for me, was that Halo had received the award for Best Action Game, which was nice surprise, I guess.
Yeah, they won Best Action Game. It Takes Two also won Game of the Year like it did back at the Game Awards. So it's kind of interesting to see that kind of consistency. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart took a number of awards. Returnal took a number of awards. The Guardians of the Galaxy game actually took a couple of awards as well. Those are probably the big ones, and then there's a bunch of smaller one-off ones, but those were the big winners of the night for sure. Yeah, Phil Spencer got a Lifetime Achievement Award at the DICE Awards this year.
That's right. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, he talked about trying to be more respectful of creators and game developers, i.e., if your game sucks or you're not having fun or it isn't what you thought it was, don't threaten developers with death threats. Like, don't be an asshole. Come on.
That came from Phil Spencer.
Yeah, that's what he said in his speech.
It's been very bad.
I paraphrased a bit, but
Right.
that was part of his speech was, yeah, like, guys, like, we needed, well, I mean, it was cutting down on toxicity in general. Like,
Yeah.
we're all here to play games. We're all here to have fun. Like, we shouldn't be trying to ruin other people's times and be jerks.
Yeah,
And he's like,
I mean, because
I would also like if people, were more respectful to game developers and game creators. Just
Right.
because, like, don't jump on them on Twitch or on Twitter because of tweaked gun balance or something, and then it took away the one gun you like playing with or whatever. He's just like, don't be an asshole.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, because what Cyberpunk and Halo has seen a lot of that type of threats, and
I mean, it's
Just-
not just them.
it's
all over
not
the
just
place.
them. It's just what I've noticed mainly, and Cyberpunk being more so than anything.
I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, part of it's just social media in general, but in having that access to, shout at game developers or whatever over the internet. But
Yeah,
yeah, he called that out specifically in his speech, which is cool.
it is cool. It is pretty.
Yeah,
nice.
those are probably the highlights from that.
If I may be so bold, I want to say that Phil Spencer is arguably one of the best things that happened to the gaming community.
I think that's hard to argue.
I mean,
whether
It
you're a
is
fan
hard
of
to
Xbox
argue,
or not, like,
we may literally have to do an entire episode about Phil Spencer and the things that he's done and things that he's brought to the gaming community.
we could. We could.
Yeah,
I've never done much research on him. I've never really heard him talk or heard, things he's had to say, but the few little blips that I have, I like the guy more and more every time I hear about him. It's just, he's so pro video games, pro gamer, pro the industry. He's not a money man.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much at least everything that we've seen and that he's done in a nutshell is very
Right.
pro gaming community as a whole, not just pro Xbox and not just about, like, milking customers for money.
Absolutely. And then in a little bit darker news, it's all over the internet. It's on every news station.
All over the world.
All over the
every
world.
social media platform. Yeah,
The invasion of Russia into Ukraine. It's a terrible situation. I think
It is.
I think we can all agree that we all stand for Ukraine and
For
hope
sure.
the best for that country and a quick
Yeah.
resolution.
Absolutely.
Agreed. And we're mentioning this not to get into a political debate, but because this has had an effect on gaming and the gaming community. Just because CD Projekt Red, EA, Microsoft, I think those are all the ones at the time of us recording this, have all stopped selling their games in Russia and Belarus. Several other game developers are donating some of their profits to humanitarian aid charities. I can't remember his name, but there was one gaming pro who, like, donated money directly to Ukraine. But yeah, like, and the Ukrainian president actually came out and specifically asked video game companies and stuff to not sell their games and stuff inside of Russia and Belarus as a way to try and get people on their feet to try and stop, or like get the Russian people on their feet to try and stop this from happening or continuing.
Yep. And I mean, video game industry isn't the only one that's been taking a stand against this crap. There's thousands of different
Yeah,
industries
Netflix
and
stopped their stuff over there.
I mean, we could go all day
a
about
lot. Yeah,
we
A
could
lot
go
of
all
stuff
day
is-
about the sanctions and people that have stopped doing stuff in Russia and things like that. But it's nice to see that everyone's kind of coming together and supporting Ukraine in this.
jump into things here.
Yeah.
The topic of our episode being first impressions. Since we had what we mentioned, we got 3 main games we're all playing, right?
Yeah, February
I
shotgunned a bunch of games at us.
Yes.
I'll start with Elden Ring. First impressions is I was gonna take it with a grain of salt because I've never really been into Dark Souls games. They were just crazy hard, and I mean, coming from a guy who used to break controllers over playing Skate, I didn't think it was my cup of tea to jump into Dark Souls. Um, but Elden Ring took me by surprise. It is surprisingly amazing, beautiful, and the combat it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be, honestly. It is hard. Let's get that straight. But first impressions, it's pretty absolutely amazing. It's almost like the love child of it feels like if Fable had a dark turn, that's the vibes that this Elden Ring's giving off, and it's been utterly fun. I've probably put a comfortable at least probably about 40 hours into that game. I've been going sleepless, lack of sleep, just being so addicted as of until recently. Actually, I don't know, Tim. You've played and dabbled in it
Yes, I've got.
a little bit.
I don't have nearly as much time as you do in it. I have, I'd say probably about 8 hours, maybe 10. But Josh is absolutely right. The game is very difficult in a sense. You really have to be mindful of like what you're going up against, where you're at in the world. You really have your situational awareness has to be there. Otherwise, you're gonna just straight up get your ass handed to you.
It is. It's very turn based almost in a weird way. So like what I mean by turn based, it's also evaluating your enemies. So every enemy you run into in the game is going to have a different attack pattern. And when I say pattern is because you can read those patterns and look for openings, and that's usually how you beat your enemies within Elden Ring. It is harsh with that though, because the enemies are absolutely aggressive. And if you're not ready for that, they destroy you quickly,
Uh,
depending on also who you run into.
Turn-based, yeah. I mean, I guess that's one way you could put it. It's not turn-based in traditional sense of like Final Fantasy. You
No,
do
yeah,
have
yeah,
to
yeah.
you do have to read your enemies and find those weak spots and those openings in their attacks, and then take your turn. But you cannot be greedy with it. You have to
Nope.
make your strike and get out.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I've seen a lot of people say, and a lot of the tips I've taken to heart is being greedy gets you killed. And you're not you're not some super soldier, you're not some just guy who can take all the hits. No, you take a hit, two hits, you're done. It's how harsh the game is realistically.
Yes.
But for its scope and size, it did not disappoint.
No.
It is crazy huge and beautiful at that. And because there's also two modes for the game. There's a performance mode that prioritizes 60 FPS, and a quality mode which prioritizes resolution. And that's what I'm playing on, just because I want to see the game in its full glory. And I mean, Tim, you've seen it. Gosh, uh, it is it is beautiful, stunning. I
It,
think one of the most stunning games I've played this year so far.
yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. It is a beautiful game. I don't even know how to put it. And of course, we say this every episode. I feel like I just kind of repeat myself anymore. Is it's a beautiful game. It's a beautiful game, and it is. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna argue it. Graphically, it is very appealing.
It is absolutely. I mean, I know Brenden has yet to dabble in it, so he's very out of the loop for
I
its
mean,
in-games experiences.
I mean, yeah, I haven't experienced it personally yet. But I mean, I've heard a lot of, all the positivity around it and all the love for it. I mean, everybody's calling it already like game of the year, basically. I mean, it probably is game of the year at this point, at least to start for most people. I mean, yeah, the biggest, it's the biggest non-Call of Duty release, non-Call of Duty or FIFA release in the UK since 2018, since Red Dead Redemption 2. So it's already selling like hotcakes. It's one of Steam's most played games of all time. I mean, yeah, everybody's saying that it's kind of like this is finally what like all the Souls games and Bloodborne and Sekiro and stuff were kind of. I don't want to say building towards because it's not like the same universe or anything, but like taking all the lessons that they learned from all those other games and finally building. I mean, I guess for lack of a better phrase, a perfect Souls game that finally delivers on all the promise from Dark Souls and Sekiro and Bloodborne and.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it is comfortably, from what I understand and what I've learned from people about Dark Souls and Sekiro and Bloodborne, is this is like it's like a comfortable mixture of like Dark Souls amazingness with the lightened up difficulty that they've transitioned into like Sekiro, and it plus with this brand new their attempt at the open world scene where you can actually sneak around enemies, you can get around things, you're not forced to directly go into combat like in Dark Souls.
Yeah, that's one of the things is, I mean, in particular in Dark Souls, less so in Sekiro, because Sekiro does have a pretty big stealth element to it. But I mean, yeah, Dark Souls pretty much just walks you into every combat scenario every time. I mean, there is some exceptions to that rule, but generally speaking, Dark Souls like basically walks you into a corridor or a room or whatever, and you have to kill everything in it, and then you can leave. Because if you don't kill it, it's gonna kill you first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think my only gripe that I have that kind of was the biggest shut off for me recently in the game was I was doing this mission, without giving out any spoilers. Hadn't met up with, the contact or the, who I was supposed to meet up with. And as I was in mid conversation, I got attacked by AI enemies, just random roaming ones, which stopped the conversation and it got the contact and me to start fighting them. And as I fought them, I had struck my contact with one of my attacks and it
Oh,
turned him, and it ended the quest line and screwed me out of it. I was so pissed. That's my only gripe is I cannot believe that's a damn thing.
oh, it's something that's happened in Dark Souls. Like, yeah, if you strike your, like, you can hit like the vendors and stuff that you get weapons and armor from and stuff like that. And if you do that, then they will stop selling you stuff and i.e. screw you out of the whole game. But I mean, it is kind of annoying. You were mid conversation, some roving band of jackwads rolled up and forced you into a fight.
Yeah, and I had no idea that was ever a thing in a video game until that point, because then the contact started fighting me with with those bandits. So he in
Yeah,
turn starts joining them, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? What? And then yeah, I went back to where the location of where it started, and it was just ended. There's no progressing it, and I was pissed.
that sucks. That does
understandably
suck.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, understandably. I mean, yeah.
Uh, one of the things I'm curious to get your input on because Dark Souls and Bloodborne and stuff have they have a map, but it never tells you where to go. You basically just have to figure it out based on what you're fighting.
It
And
is
I've heard Elden Ring is better, much better. Um,
okay. So, I mean, I never played any other titles except Elden Ring, but it is so harsh. I guess the best way to put it is there is a form of direction, but it comes in the line of actual NPCs kind of you really actually got to listen to them because when you come up to any NPC, a lot of them have a lot to say, and most of them will actually talk about like, hey, there's this over here, and that's the direction. That is like your guided path. Is the NPCs will tell you things, and if you're not like it's literally one of those things where you got to play this, not be bugged by anybody because
You need
it's
to pay
that's
attention.
your yes, that's your form of direction.
Um,
There is no guided path. There's nothing. It's all just exploration. From what
it's
I've understood,
it's blind
you know.
exploration. There's no waypoints. There's no marks on the map. You have to figure it out. Which,
Yeah,
in my
it's a
opinion,
blind run.
and I think, in my opinion, and Josh, I think you would agree with this as well, is that I actually like this because it's kind of a fresh take on an RPG. You don't see that clear path in front of you. You've got to figure it out, and it almost brings like that realism. Because if you go back to this era when this game would be based out of a medieval style game, you're not going to have a waypoint above your head pointing you north that's where you need to go. You have to
Yeah.
figure out how to get to that castle, to that hold, to that outpost.
Yeah, so basically the whole moral of like how it starts is, I mean, I actually had to look up a Elden Ring for Dummies is what I'd like to call it, a trial thing on YouTube to kind of understand like what is the point, what is my purpose, and it's basically just find NPCs, and the only way to know that they're NPCs that are friendly is usually they are in like a shack or some like abandoned building, hiding away from the enemies, and you talk to them and they guide you and give you information, and they kind of tell you about like, oh, there's this ruler here, and you kind of learn more about the story of the game as you progress through talking to NPCs. And the whole moral is you can kind of go fight the bosses immediately, but like I unless you're like some Dark Souls, you know, cheat like just amazing at Dark Souls in general, I guess is the best way to put it. Maybe that's for you. But I had to do a lot of grinding and exploration to like level up my guy to be able to take on the first boss I discovered. And it is, like Tim said, it is blatantly blind exploration at its fullest. That is literally it in a nutshell. It is like, hey, like it's like Middle Earth, Hobbit, go out there and good luck with no Gandalf, basically. That's the best way to put it, realistically. But yeah, I mean, Brennan, what have you been playing as of late? What's your
La 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 la.
As
No,
mentioned in our last video, I've been playing a lot of Horizon Forbidden West, sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. So it's a giant open world action adventure game about fighting giant machines in this crazy post-apocalyptic world. I mean, it's excellent. It's everything Horizon Zero Dawn was, but bigger and better. A lot of quality of life improvements that needed to be in the game. I mean, Tim, you've dabbled in it, like,
Yep.
trying to get upgrades for stuff from Horizon Zero Dawn, where it's like, you need 8 bird feathers or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then you just have to like wander around and try to find a bird and shoot it. In this one, you can actually set it as a quest. Like you can set those upgrades as like a job, which basically makes it a quest, and then it'll actually give you pinpoints around the map of where to find that thing that you're looking for.
Really?
Yeah. So like right now I'm looking for like owls. Like I need a lot of owl bones and owl feathers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the game's like, hey, there are owls in this area. Like since I set it as a job, it'll literally put on the map, be like, hey, there's owls here. You can search in this area and hunt owls until you find what you need or whatever.
That's really cool.
that is
It's
neat. I really need
it's
to
really nice.
get into playing those. I bet first.
Yeah,
Josh,
because,
you would love it. It's
oh yeah.
like better Assassin's Creed, if I'm being honest. I really had that. I actually just had that revelation a couple of days ago. I was like, this really reminds me kind of Assassin's Creed, except I don't hate it.
I
There
mean,
you have it.
I've heard so much about it, and I've seen a lot of clips, and I've not had a PlayStation 3 or PlayStation since PlayStation 3 is as I just kind of blurted out the name since God of War 3, and I have been itching hard to try those games, specifically the Horizon, just because I mean I'm that open world guy, like you said, and the Assassin's Creed thing. Now that you mention that, I'm like, oh god, I really got to give that a shot.
Well, yeah, I mean, so especially when you're fighting like humans, and the other tribes and stuff like that, like it very much feels like an Assassin's Creed. I mean, they expanded the melee system, so now there's like separate combos and stuff. There's a lot more
Hmm.
versatility to it from the first one. The map is way bigger. Fortunately, you get access to a few of the overrides because at a certain point in the first game, you're allowed to override machines, but it takes a little
Oh,
bit to
okay.
get there. But you start with a couple of them in the beginning of the game.
That are what mirror the ones you had obtained in the first game.
Couple of them, yeah. I mean, the big one is that you get to start off being able to override chargers, which are like these robotic rams, mountain goats, whatever, so that you can ride them. That's like your early transportation, so you don't have to walk everywhere. I mean, yeah. Oh god, and yeah, it has a stash in it now, so you don't have to fucking sit there and like drop stuff out of your inventory to pick other stuff up, which is one of the biggest problems with the first game. Tim, again, I'm sure you already don't have to do that anymore. You just pick it up and it goes in. If it doesn't fit in your current inventory on your person, it transports magically to a stash that you can access it, like, you know, certain
that is beautiful.
safe houses and stuff.
I wish more games
I was gonna say, did they bring in, which I may not be far enough in Zero Dawn, but is there like a safe house or a home base for Aloy in this one? Because it really wasn't, at least where I'm at so far, is there's not really anything like that yet for me.
Yeah, there really isn't in Zero Dawn. Forbidden West, you do eventually get like a base, but I don't. It's not story-wise and stuff. It serves a purpose, but honestly, outside of a few things that I like need to travel back there for stuff that I'm not going to spoil, it doesn't do as much. But there's a lot more towns and settlements and like bigger city. Well, I mean, city might be pushing it, but you know what I mean, like you know, bigger settlements. Not ruins. I mean like bigger like towns and stuff.
Okay,
like,
like the little, like, you know, holds or strongholds you'd go to.
Like there's a lot more of those. There's a lot more, whole bunch of new tribes to interact with. You know, you see a lot of, you know, old friends from the first game, make some new ones. The game is massive.
Because
I just reached the edge of the map, and I have put in, I think the last time I checked my time was like 65 hours or something like that, and I just reached the other side of the map. Now, granted, I could have reached it a lot earlier, but I was, you know,
but you're actually playing the game, not trying to get to the other side of the map.
Yeah, like if I had just ran across the other side, like couldn't have quite entirely. But yeah, like, and so it's like really split up into these like distinct zones. Like there's a whole desert area. You know, it takes place. It's supposed to be like the American West and Southwest. So there's like a giant desert area. And then like there's the coastline where it's a lot of like jungle and rainforest stuff.
Okay.
And then like there's the Rockies, and so there's lots of mountains and stuff.
So you're not in the Mother.
No, you are far gone from that. That is way back east. I think like the area of the first game is supposed to be like East Coast and like the Midwest kind of. Like not perfectly, obviously, but like kind of like a scaled version of that.
Right.
And then this is like the American Southwest. But yeah, there's a bunch of new monsters, machines. Yeah, like expanded combat. There's a bunch of new weapon types that they added. Like the first game really just had like 3 different types of bows and like the tripwire stuff and like the rope caster thing.
Yeah.
Where you like shoot ropes down. Like that was more or less it. This one's got like 8 different bow types, and then there's the trip casters are back, the rope casters are back, and then there's these new like shredder things. Like you're playing like highlight with a frickin' machine because it like shoots this metallic hockey puck thing. Like it's weird.
Interesting.
It's not perfect. I do have some gripes. I've hit some bugs and glitches. Nothing
game breaking.
I had one where I had to actually quit the game and restart. It's not like I lost like hours of progress or anything.
Right.
But I've gotten stuck in objects a couple times. Sometimes the audio gets a little weird. They have patched it multiple times now, so the visuals have really evened out. Because when you first started playing, there was a lot of like the visuals wouldn't like load properly, and so like everything would be kind of smoothed out and not have the proper texture, and then it would kind of like pop in. The game kind of difficulty spikes randomly. Like there was one mission that I thought was going to be easy as pie, and it was just like a side mission, and it was like level like I said, recommended level was like maybe like 18 or 20, maybe the mid 20s tops. And at the time I was already in like the 30s, so I'm like way over leveled to this. So I'm thinking it's gonna be a cakewalk, and then randomly I have to fight this machine called a Thunderjaw. I don't know if you run into them yet or not, Tim, and
I don't
Zero Dawn. And then I also like a Stormbird, which are 2 of like the crazy big high level ones. Then I have to fight both of them at the same time, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like what Like this just came out of nowhere for it's part of the quest line, so like I had to do it, but I was just like I was just doing a simple like fetch quest thing, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere I have to fight like two of the biggest, hardest monsters in the game at the same time. And I'm like, that's a little unfair. Like I was not prepared for that.
Yeah, you're not playing
like, surprise,
Elden Ring right now.
Yeah, like it's so it kind of does that here and there, so that's kind of annoying.
Makes sense.
Because a big part of the Horizon games is that you can kind of control the way you approach stuff a lot.
Yes.
You know, again, like we were talking, like with the tripwires, like you can set tripwires and set traps, and try to lure people to stuff to single them out and whatever. So then when it does stuff like that, and it just like throws two of the biggest monsters in the game at the same time, I'm like, well, what, like, I can do this, but I'm like, this is not the way this game is supposed to work. Like,
yeah,
you're supposed to let me approach the situation, not throw the biggest things you can at me and tell me to figure it out.
Well, aside from that, I'm glad that they've essentially stayed true to their roots, and they didn't.
Oh yeah.
And they expanded on some of the things that weren't necessarily an issue in Zero Dawn, but would have added more depth to Zero Dawn. I'm glad that they at least carried that forward to Forbidden West.
A lot of quality of life improvement stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it fixed a lot of the map stuff. The focus just works better. It's less annoying. Although you still have to click it like every 5 seconds to make sure you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still gorgeous. It still looks and sounds great. It's still well acted. I haven't finished the main story yet, so I can't speak to the overall story at the moment. But so far, like, it's enjoyable.
Good.
Nothing like too insane. But yeah, like I mean, really, if you liked Zero Dawn, you'll like Forbidden West. It's that but more. But on the other hand, if you didn't like Zero Dawn, or you don't think you would like Zero Dawn, this isn't going to convince you any differently.
I think you'd have to be crazy to not like Zero Dawn, in my opinion.
Some people, it's just not their thing.
Wow.
It just isn't.
Well,
but it's a tremendous game, and honestly, I mean, you could argue it would have been Game of the Year, but then Elden Ring released a week later, so.
Well, and again, it's still early in the year.
Are amazing games so far.
Yeah.
It's panned out.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot to come.
I say there's still some big titles that are supposed to come out that could easily take that title. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, we're only at the beginning of the year, so
yeah.
And then Tim, you've been new and improved Cyberpunk, right?
I have. Yeah, it's the game that I'm going to give my first impression on is Cyberpunk. Granted, it's not a new game, and it's obviously been out for roughly 18 months now. But like I've said in previous episodes, is I was waiting until this update had come out. I played roughly 10 hours or so when it initially came out. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to hold off and wait till I get a Series X. I'm going to wait till the next gen update. Well, that next gen update is here. I have been playing it. Gorgeous game. And seeing it from playing it on Xbox One S to now playing it on Xbox Series X, major improvements that they've done with this next gen update. I still need to get in and replay the first story mission because I have a screenshot of when I played on the 1S, and I need to get a screenshot of the exact same spot because it's within the first 5 minutes, it's within the first cutscene. I need to grab that exact same picture in that exact same spot when you're talking to Jack, and I was comparing them in real time when I was doing it. Like, I had the picture pulled up on my phone, I was looking at it on my TV, and I could just sit there and just point out all day where the differences were at, where the improvements of the visuals were at. I wasn't even thinking about it. I should have got a screenshot then. But like I said, it's like within the first 5 minutes of that opening mission / scene of the game. Other than that, I mean, it's Cyberpunk. People have had their sort of mixed reviews on it. I know that it kind of got a bad rap to begin with. I do think that this update definitely brought it the justice that it needed. If it would have been released initially on Xbox Series X, like if they had waited, this is what it would have come out. Not enough that I can say about the game. I'm loving it. I'm taking it a little bit slower, taking a little bit different approach. I'm doing a little bit more grinding, trying to level up V before I really start pressing with the story, trying to do all the side missions, do all the little side jobs. I honestly don't even know what else to say about it. It's been a fun game.
It is. I mean, because when that update came out, me and you jumped on it pretty quickly, and I can attest to you this being your true playthrough, as you were nothing but wow, oh my wow, the entire time you were playing it. Because, like you said, since this is how the game should have launched. It is a night and day difference to like the impact of like the visuals are way smoother and more impressive from going from a dark inside area to coming outside and seeing the city and the pedestrians walking everywhere. It is I'd like to say breathtaking. It
It
really
is.
is crazy compared to, I mean, when I first played it, it was on the Xbox One X,
Right.
which frankly, when that first released so broken, the Xbox One X was one of the few consoles that was last gen consoles that was handling it well. But I can like you said, it is crazy different. This next gen update, it is crazy.
It is. It huge change, and this didn't really affect the next gen update. Didn't really have any effect on this or impact on it, but the game itself, it feels like you're in the city. Like when you walk outside, the city is so alive. There's noise and there's movement, and I swear there's times I can smell what's going on in the city just because like it really pulls you in.
Yeah, immediately. Like when you walk outside, it's almost the accumulation of like if you walked out of the Best Buy in Times Square, and you hear the people walking, the talking, the screeching of brakes and the cars in the distance.
Yeah.
It's so strange to like say that,
Hmm.
but it's that's what it's like. You just walk out and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it just all of a sudden you're just looking everywhere and there's just so much going on. It's crazy cool.
It reminds
I
me
mean,
it reminds me a lot. You mentioned Times Square. Which I haven't never been to New York, but it to me references more of like that Las Vegas Strip style. When you go outside, Las Vegas Strip is so busy. There's so much going on.
it's true.
When you step
True.
out into New City, that's how I feel.
That is probably the another great apt, because if you think about it, so like when I referenced New York, is that the echo of the cars throughout the city, right?
Yes.
Is
Yep.
that the sound specifically, but then like the Vegas atmosphere of like the hurdles of different types of people just walking in front of you immediately
Yes.
is like the Vegas take.
The
It's
lights,
crazy.
all the
Yes, the
lights.
lights. Yep.
But even like the other aspects of the game, it's not just a visual. Like the combat is actually fairly solid.
It definitely takes getting used to at
It
first
does.
because it's its
It
own thing.
because there's no like
I mean,
auto aiming system.
yeah, but I mean, for an RPG though, like the combat is pretty excellent. Like for a
It
game
is.
that's
It
more or less an
is.
RPG first, like
Yes.
it does. If like Skyrim in Elder Scrolls in particular, the melee combat is. I mean, it is what it is. It's serviceable, but it's
Yeah.
really just feels like you're hitting something with a stick as opposed to actually like swinging a sword. Like it doesn't feel great.
Well, and
Yeah.
like like in that aspect, I love Skyrim. One of my all-time favorite games. But it's more of a
Right.
button mashing style fight than it is like a block,
It's
dodge,
very
get cover.
fluid.
Yes.
It's fluid as hell.
Whereas yes,
Yeah.
Cyberpunk is very fluid. Honestly, I think this is a type of combat style physics that Grand Theft Auto should have had that Cyberpunk does have.
It's crazy freaking cool. I mean, even with this next gen adaption and version they brought out, they added in a lot of features people were actually immediately complaining about and wanting when it first came out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and stuff. So I mean, they've even added more content, which is a cherry on top to them
Yes.
adding this, which is, I mean, a love. It's almost like a little love letter from them, just like, hey, here's this
Yeah, because
with it,
they've
you know.
because they added what you said they added more apartments,
Yeah, they added
new
more
vehicles.
apartments.
Yeah, new
No,
cars, new guns.
yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, because you can actually check, by the way, if you go into you press the menu button, you can go into in-game content, and you can
Mhm.
see all the stuff that is automatically downloaded when you start up
Right.
the game, and you can see all that additional content that was added into the game,
Right. So I mean,
which I foresee a lot of stuff like that coming in the future.
it's really cool that the CD Projekt Red not only cleaned up the game and made it more graphically appealing, but they brought more with it too.
Yeah, I mean it's not a surprise from them. They actually, I mean, they really did the same thing with The Witcher 3 when that came out. They added a bunch of free stuff before they even got to like the paid expansions down the road. Like there was, new outfits, new swords, new like dyes, stuff like that. A lot of little stuff, but it's still like new stuff. And if you're playing through the game when that stuff came out, or even after, then that's just more stuff for you to fool around with, and it's stuff that's free. Like it doesn't cost you anything. That's the
Yes,
best
Yeah.
part.
that is the
I
best part.
actually I think that's they're gonna have a lot of that content. I think because even like so one of the main content free content things that's more popular in Witcher is outfit. You get free outfit changes for main characters in the game, like other NPCs that are prevalent within the story.
Right.
They did that for Johnny Silverhand. There's an additional look for him. You can download that content and it changes his look. So I would imagine we're going to get a bunch more of that type of content as well. That's probably going to be free. Knowing how CD Projekt Red, with their success of Witcher 3 and all that free content.
Yeah, I mean that you're probably absolutely right. The only I don't even want to call it a gripe because it's so minuscule and it's really not a huge deal. Is I'd love more NPC interaction. It's in my opinion a little bit more linear in that sense. There is interactions that you have with like the story and the side mission people, but as far as like walking around normal NPCs walking down the street, there's really not very much interaction. There's no backstories to these people like you get in some other
No.
games.
I mean, the most interaction you get out of the NPCs in this game is if which is actually a pretty neat thing. I don't know if you've discovered this, Tim, is if you look at an NPC, they talk at you.
Yeah, they'll say like a line or two.
They'll be smart with you. Like, what are you looking at?
Yeah,
And they'll give some dialogue. That's it, though.
it's
That's
very
the
Grand
interaction.
Theft Auto feel with walking
Yeah.
around NPCs because Grand Theft Auto they would give you that same thing. I would like a little bit more of a Skyrim feel interaction with NPCs. Not every single one needs to have a dialogue, but sprinkle a couple here and there that you might have like a little conversation about. Doesn't even necessarily have to lead to a side mission or a side quest or something like that. Just add a little bit depth to it.
Yeah. It would liven it up a little
It
bit, make
would.
it a little bit more personal.
Yeah, I agree. So that's our three games that we gave our first impression on games that we've all kind of been playing.
Brendan, what have since we're wrapping it up, what have you been playing lately?
I literally just playing Horizon Forbidden West until I finish it. Like I said, I think at this point I'm like close to 70 hours or a little over it, and my game percentage is like at the high 60%. So like that's literally all I've been playing. I've forsaken all others.
Wow, that should be
um,
a testament to the game. Just saying.
I
That
mean,
should be.
it's true,
That
but I
is
mean,
that's when you know it's good.
true. I mean, it is also typically the way I play games. I tend to pick one and stick with it just so I
Right.
don't, you know, lose the thread and
Yeah,
You're
uh,
not like
forget how to
yeah,
play it and yeah, all that jazz.
that's the worst.
game jumping. I'm
Yeah,
bad at that.
yeah. I try not to do it because then that that causes me not to finish stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, Josh, what are you playing aside from Elden Ring?
Well, aside from Elden Ring, what kind of bummed me out and stopped me from playing it was the failure of that mission. Really, I took that hard. Um, so I've actually been playing the living crap out of Destiny 2's brand new content, The Witch Queen, and I've been having an amazing time playing it. And I recently got one of my other friends and my cousin back into Destiny, so I've had them accompanying me on a lot of grinding sessions. But I would say a lot of my time as of recently, with the sprinkle of Elden Ring, has been Destiny, Destiny 2 specifically, which it's been fun. Tim joined me actually on day one launch. He jumped in there and was playing it and was admiring it a little bit. But that's me. That's what I've been up to as of late. What about you, Tim? What's been your game of choice?
So aside from Cyberpunk, Elden Ring, I have been dabbling in that a little bit, like I kind of mentioned a little bit ago, and then Horizon Zero Dawn's still kind of on the burner there. And then simulators. I think I mentioned this in the last episode. I kind of got back into Car Mechanic Simulator, so I've kind of been playing that a little bit. But yeah, those games. All right, so I think that's gonna wrap it up.
Games.
No, not bad at all. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode. We really appreciate you guys hanging out with us as we talk about, our first impressions of some games that have been released. I'm sure we're definitely going to talk more about them as the year goes on and time goes on. But that's our first impression on them. We really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, 5 stars, thumbs up, anything you can do on any platform. We are also on TikTok. That's slowly getting rolling. It might end up getting put on the back burner for a few months, and we'll kind of get into that down the road. We'll address that issue later. Just kind of trying to get it slow rolling, trying to get some content built up on it. Eventually, when I get more free time, I'll really get it flowing. I'll really start getting videos posted on a regular basis rather than the randomness that I have it on now. So go check it out. Citizens of Gaming Podcast on TikTok. But anyways, we really appreciate it, and we hope to see you guys next time. Thank you.
Later, guys.
Thanks for listening.